Good evening. My name is Edward R. Mushroom, and this is the Tox News Network, or TNN for short. For the record, we're a rogue news organization born out of the bias and corruption demonstrated by the mainstream media. Yes, journalism is officially dead. Gone are the days of honest and balanced reporting found in the tradition of the Daily Planet and Clark Kent and Associates. Getting directly to the point, TNN will be broadcasting a potpourri of eclectic news that will span from beating up America's out-of-touch news outlets in addition to reporting on important issues of the day. For tonight's broadcast, TNN thought that since the colluding and biased media beat up Donald Trump every opportunity it could, well, we thought it would be a nice change of pace to present something the drive-by media would never ever reveal. Specifically, the many positive and Jewish attributes found in Donald Trump, the man. As luck would have it, TNN ran across an article written by Wayne Root, which would seem to fulfill tonight's broadcast objectives. By the way, Wayne Allyn Root, the guy who wrote this great article, is an American businessman, political figure, television and radio personality, author, television producer, and political commentator. He also knows Donald Trump personally. So who better than Mr. Root to tell us about Mr. Trump's many positive and Jewish attributes? In any event, it's Mr. Root's contention that Donald Trump should be called America's first Jewish president. That's right, you heard me correctly, America's first Jewish president. Okay, so maybe Donald is not actually Jewish, but just as Bill Clinton wasn't black, he was nonetheless still called America's first black president. Okay, let's see how Mr. Root can make such an incredible claim. By the way, Mr. Root himself is an Ivy League educated Jewish kid from New York and says, "Trust me, Donald Trump is as close as you can come to being our first Jewish president." He continues that the very unique traits that have made him a billionaire and now President of the United States are as Jewish as you can get. Let me prove to you that Donald is our first Jewish president. Here goes. First, Donald is a lifelong New York businessman who has made his fortune in real estate. You can't get any more Jewish than that. Well, actually you can. His winter home, Mar-a-Lago, is on the east coast of South Florida. When he bought his Florida home and turned it into a popular, exclusive country club, he specifically opened the membership up to Jews. Mar-a-Lago was the first club that ever allowed Jews in Palm Beach. Donald changed the customs of the most wealthy, waspy town in America to favor Jews. Next, Donald is family-oriented and clearly loves and dotes on his children. He is bursting with pride at his children's success. That could be the most Jewish trait of all. To Jews, family and children are everything, and Donald is your typical Jewish parent. Donald's children are all Ivy League graduates, just like my own daughter, says Mr. Root, who proudly boasts she recently graduated magna cum laude from Harvard. Donald's daughter Ivanka has converted to Orthodox Judaism. That makes Donald the first president in the history of America with Orthodox Jewish grandkids. Donald is also handing over his business to his children. That's the goal of every Jewish businessman in history. Mr. Root continues with, "Donald is the most hardworking businessman I've ever met." He also believes it is the main reason for the success of so many Jewish people. Mr. Root's Jewish father, a butcher named David Root, taught him that two things mattered above all else in life: being a good father and always owning your own business. He continues with, "Donald has more chutzpah than anyone I've ever met in my life." Chutzpah is a unique word that comes from the Yiddish language. It means you are so ambitious, you aim so high that people think you're nuts. Donald aims higher than anyone who has ever lived. And now he's President of the United States. He continues on, Donald is the most relentless person he's ever met. Relentless is a very unique Jewish trait. Jews are relentless fighters. Think about it. Jews have survived thousands of years of hate, discrimination, persecution, robbery, slavery, and murder. And they haven't just survived, they've thrived. By the way, Mr. Root has written The Power of Relentless. And of course, it was endorsed by Mr. Relentless himself, Donald Trump. Mr. Root goes on to say Donald is a big success in Hollywood as a TV producer. He joins an exclusive club that is predominantly Jewish. And Mr. Root should know he's created, produced, and hosted hit TV shows his entire adult life. Donald is a bigger-than-life personality. He has dynamic communication skills. He's very charismatic, opinionated, ambitious, aggressive, combative, committed, and passionate about his ideas and beliefs. He says whatever is on his mind, even if it offends. Mr. Root continues, all of these are traits I've seen in my Jewish friends, relatives, and business partners for my entire life. Many of Donald's political views and policies are tailor-made for Jews. He could be the most pro-Israel president in history. Donald will always stand with the Jews of Israel. How strong are Donald's bonds to Israel, you may ask? He even was a Grand Master of an annual Salute to Israel parade in New York City. He continues, the Jewish National Fund awarded Donald the Tree of Life Award for his lifetime of support for the Jewish people and the State of Israel. Sam, did you find out what the Tree of Life Award is all about?
I did. The Tree of Life Award is the highest humanitarian award the Jewish National Fund presents to one individual or family each year in appreciation of their outstanding community involvement. Jewish Week found that Donald has given generously for many years to Jewish charities.
Thank you, Sam. A professor of American Jewish history calls Trump's charitable contribution to Jewish causes impressive and clearly out of the ordinary for a non-Jew. Mr. Root continues that his stance on extreme vetting and stopping the mass importation of Muslim refugees should be welcomed and enthusiastically embraced by every American Jew. Donald's goal is the same as mine, says Mr. Root. Keeping people out of our country who could commit acts of terrorism and who have an unnatural hatred and prejudice towards Jews. One of Donald's first priorities as president is to renegotiate the Iran deal, perhaps the worst treaty ever negotiated in U.S. history and a danger to Israel's future survival. Donald is the strongest anti-terrorism president possible. He understands our enemy is radical Islam. He uses the words Islamic extremist in the same sentence. That alone makes Donald the best friend Jews have ever had. Amazingly, who was one of the very first world leaders to talk to Donald Trump after his victory? Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. Coincidence? And speaking of friends, many of Donald's friends, business partners, executives at the Trump Organization, country club members at Mar-a-Lago, and trusted lawyers and advisors are Jewish. No U.S. president has ever in history been surrounded by so many Jewish friends and advisors. Trust me, he goes on to say, by almost any possible measurement, we've just elected our first Jewish president. Well, thank you for that great article and analysis, Mr. Root. Well, that does it for tonight. This is Edward R. Mushroom and the Tox News Network wishing you a good night. Are we off the air?
I think so.
So what do you think? Is Donald America's first Jewish president?
Oh my God, what a mensch! He's going to make one hell of a president.